Greetings folks, Dan here, and welcome to another edition of Kaiju Showcase.
今度はもっと大きなギャンゴになれ。こんな大きなギャンゴになるんだ。
Today we'll be taking a look at the mischievous monster Gyango. He is from the original Ultraman series. He appeared in episode 11, titled The Ruffian from Outer Space. He's kind of a little bit of an oddball kaiju. It's another one of those not intending to be a bad guy but became a bad guy. But we'll go into that, or an unintentional bad guy. But we'll go into a bit more about that when we get to the history. Let's talk about the actual figure here. This is, unfortunately, I don't know the date, but they only ever used one mold. This was released by Bandai from all major releases between 1983 up to 1991. I have noticed no significant difference between any of the figures. The paint job, the mold color, the mold is all identical pretty much for every single release. The only thing is, I can tell you this is probably a newer one because the vinyl or the material is made out is very, very soft. Most earlier figures are extremely hard. This is just very squishy and there's not a lot to it, which is kind of like mine's got a little bit of a gimp leg that I've got to fix, but I will get around to repairing that someday. But let's talk about the figure. It does have all the main points of articulation that you would expect. Legs, arms, all do 360 without interference, and the head actually does also, which is kind of interesting. I would have liked, and I know this probably would have made it cost more or whatever, but I really would have liked the ears to be able to turn, just because that's kind of an important part of his anatomy as his character. So I thought that would have been kind of cool. Detail is really good, but it is very much incorrect. Arms nowhere near as long as they need to be. There's a very short, it's actually down around here in the show. I know there was the actor's arm didn't fill the whole thing and just dangled down more because of the claw. And then the legs almost seemed too long. They seemed like they were shorter in the actual show. But the ears, I can tell you for sure, are definitely not right, because while again it's a cost-saving measure, these are supposed to be actually just like you can see through them and there'll be little bars, not like a full back like regular ears or whatever. No, that's not how it works. Most of you have seen the character and you'll see him in the video clips for this. That's not how his ears work. But no, I mean, the detail is pretty good. Aside from that, of course, it's not very correct. The paint job, surprisingly, is actually very good for this. It's been the same since the original. All these are very close. Maybe you could say the coloration might be like this. I don't believe some more of these are more of a yellow color as opposed to this orange. But that's just being nitpicky. And again, the color is really good. So this is actually a fairly correct coloration for it. Even the mold. Not all the key points are colored. Of course, it's an older toy, and they didn't go into all that little bitty detail shit. But it does look really good, though. Aside from that, again, the detail is the main thing that's kind of off about it. And I wish I had an older one that was a little harder. This one is just, it's like nothing. It's really kind of odd, but it's probably one of the softer figures I have, so I try to be careful with it. Another interesting point about the detail, and I'm going to bring up a bit of history here. The suit for Gyango is actually a modified Bemular suit, and Bemular was the very first kaiju that Ultraman ever fought. So very first, one of the first Ultra Kaiju. If you don't count, they're really the first if you don't count the stuff from Ultra Q. But I do actually have an original 83 Bandai Bemular, and I got the tag here to prove it. And I just wanted to show you, if you look at these two side by side, of course Bemular is not 100% correct detail, but I did a video on that a long time ago. Actually, it did a really good job of capturing the fact that it is the same suit. It's got the same type of triangle marks. The spines on the back are very much the same. It's not, they didn't use the same mold and modify it, because you could tell there's some big differences between them, like where the spikes are at, how the spikes are placed, size of certain spikes, so on and so forth. But it is very cool that they stuck with that it's still very reminiscent of the suit it was based on. So yes, it's very they did take their time, and it is very cool, and I would really recommend this guy, if you're into the older Gyango, or do you like Gyango? Because he seemed like he used to be really popular, but kind of fell off as time went on. But I'll elaborate a bit more on that later. Very cool figure, really good, decent points of articulation. Detail's pretty good, even though it's off, but the coloration's nice. So I would say grab it if you're into that toy. Alright, let's talk a bit about the character's history. So first, let's kind of put Bemuller in the background, because he's not really super relevant to this review anymore. The character, like as I said, appeared in the 11th episode of the original Ultraman series, The Ruffian from Outer Space. What his origins are is he's was kind of a living object that fell from space, like a meteorite. But what you do is anything you touch it, anything you kind of think of, or I guess you don't necessarily have to touch it, but if you're near it, anything you think of, it'll turn into food, object, people, anything like that. So it was this great discovery, and this one guy saw it, and he's like, well, I gotta have this. So through a series of complicated events, which I'm not going to go into because it's going to take too much time, he acquired the object. He kind of played around. He's like, well, let's have it turn into a monster. This will be great. And, he had Gyango, who's like human size, and he was running through the hotel he was staying in, harassing a bunch of people. But then he's like, well, let's make him huge. That'd be cool. Then he could terrorize the entire city. Well, Sherlock Holmes here thought it'd be cool to wish for Gyango to be huge inside the hotel. So it pretty much destroyed the hotel and almost killed the guy in the process. So he's a real clever dude, jumping the gun like that. But it seemed like the guy that was doing this was really into playing jokes on people, and his nature kind of rubbed off on Gyango, as you can see through his personality in the show. He's a very joke character. He did cause some destruction, but it seemed like in a very childish way. He was doing it, but he didn't realize what he was doing. He blew up some buildings. Even the fight with Ultraman's very funny because, he gets his ass kicked and bonked on the head. And he even tries to do the Specium Ray, and it doesn't work. And it's really entertaining. I like the episode a lot. And one of the main reasons I actually like the character, because I kind of like the joke character, but he's handled really well. This is the only time that I know that he has appeared. He is just a very, very cool kaiju that needs to be brought back. I think kind of in the style of how they did the episode in Ultra Galaxy Neo, where they had Zerob's Agent, which was kind of a whole joke episode, but it was very, very funny. I think they should bring him back, Gyango back, and do another episode very similar to that. But that's all the history you need to know on him, so we're going to bounce right into the purchasing portion. Now, acquiring this figure took me a little bit of time. He's not always super readily available. I got this one from my friend, of course. You've probably seen the collection video where I got it. I hope, because it might have been, I don't remember if it was before I did those or not. But I didn't pay very much for him. I wouldn't pay very much for him if I was you, but he seems to be a little bit more of the pricier older figures. As I said, they only did him up to 91 in all the big releases, so it would be the 83 line, 86, I believe they did it for the 88 Ultra Box, and then they did an 89 series, which he might, and 89, and I believe the 91 series he was part of. But they only did him 4 or 5 times. So he's out there, but he's a little harder. Again, I think he kind of fell off in popularity. A lot of other toy makers made figures for him, like Poppy did one, Maru-san did one. There's been reissues of Gyango. Other figures have done it. Other makers of toys and such have done him, but he seems to be popular more with the old school. But like I said, he kind of fell off in popularity. He's a really cool character that I think a lot of people just don't think about anymore. It's like a lot of kaiju that don't get toys made for them that are cool. They just kind of, people just overlook them for bigger kaijus of the series. Like Bemuller here is far more popular because he was the first kaiju any Ultraman ever fought. So, and he's still not even that popular. So, But he's out there. eBay, you can find them. Sometimes they turn up. You're going to probably pay a little more because he's a little harder to find. Maybe 15 bucks for an untagged one. I probably would have paid that much if I didn't get mine for that cheap. An actual tagged one will be more. I would say like $20, $25 depending. If it's an original, if you can find one with an original tag, which will look like the one I showed on the Vemula earlier, I would say, $30, $35 because it's an original. But any other one, I don't know, about 10, 15 bucks, 20 if it's really good condition and you really want it. But it's a really great figure for a really unique and cool character. This actual video was requested by Legion. He's a big fan of Gyango, and he asked a couple weeks back if I would do it, and I was really thinking about it, and I thought, well, yeah, let's do Gyango because he's a really cool character, and I had to sit down and watch the episode again, and it's just one of those silly characters that you just really need to appreciate. It's not like one of those dumbass ones that tries to be funny and it's not cool, but it's really cool, and it's got this kind of childlike quality to him. But anyway, that's it for this review. Of course, next week I'll have another toy review. I just don't know what. I just kind of think of shit on the fly. So you guys take care, and we'll catch you next time.